The sky split open with a scream of metal, and Sergeant Marcus Vaughn knew two things with absolute certainty. He wasn't supposed to survive the crash, and the little girl standing in the wreckage wasn't human. Her silver skin glowed under the firelight, her violet eyes wide with terror, and a fractured crystal clutched in her tiny hands pulsed like a dying star. The military's orders had been clear: leave no Zenther alive. But as the ground trembled beneath them and the shadow of the dread matriarch blotted out the sky, Marcus realized the truth too late. This child wasn't just any alien. She was the Queen's missing daughter, and saving her would make him the most wanted man in the galaxy. Please wait. Before we start, tap that iCard button in the top right corner and smash that subscribe button. Right now, hit the notification bell so you're first in line when new stories land. All right. Let's dive into the story. Chapter 1. The sky burned crimson as Sergeant Marcus Boone dragged himself through the wreckage of his downed dropship. His ribs screamed with every breath, and the acrid stench of melted alloy filled his lungs. Around him, the battlefield lay eerily silent. No gunfire, no screams, just the distant hum of retreating alien engines. The Zenther had pulled back, but Marcus knew better than to relax. They always left traps. His comm crackled to life. Boone, status report. Lieutenant Reyes' voice was sharp with static. Marcus spat blood onto the scorched earth. Dropship's toast. The rest of the squad didn't make it. A pause. Then, quieter, copy that. Extractions delayed. Hold position until... The transmission died mid-sentence. Marcus cursed, slamming a fist against his helmet. Perfect. Just perfect. A faint whimper cut through the silence. Marcus froze. That wasn't the wind. He swung his rifle toward the sound, finger tense on the trigger. Show yourself. No response. Just another whimper, softer this time, like a wounded animal. Marcus crept forward, boots crunching over the shattered glass. The noise led him to a collapsed supply crate, its Dura's steel frame twisted like tinfoil. And there, curled beneath it, was a child. She was small, no older than 6, with luminous violet eyes and pearlescent skin that shimmered under the smoke-choked moonlight. A jagged cut marred her forehead, leaking iridescent fluid instead of blood. Her delicate fingers clutched a fractured data crystal, its blue light pulsing erratically. Marcus's stomach lurched. Zenther. The girl flinched as his shadow fell over her. Please, she whispered, her voice like chimes in a storm. Don't hurt me. Marcus hesitated. His orders were clear: engage hostiles on sight. But this wasn't a soldier. This was a kid. He crouched, keeping his rifle lowered. You hurt anywhere else? She shook her head, then winced, touching her temple. Just dizzy. Can you stand? Before she could answer, the ground trembled. A distant boom echoed across the ruins, followed by the unmistakable screech of Zenther scouts. The girl's eyes widened. They're coming back. Marcus swore under his breath. Yeah, and they won't be happy I'm still breathing. He glanced at her. You got a name? Luma. All right, Luma. We need to move. Now. She reached for him, then hesitated. You're human. Yeah, problem. You're enemies. Marcus snorted. And yet here I am, not vaporizing you. He yanked a med-gel pack from his belt and tossed it to her. Stick that on your cut. We'll argue about politics later. Luma fumbled with the pack, her tiny fingers struggling with the seal. Marcus rolled his eyes and snatched it back. Stars above, kid here. He pressed it to her forehead himself. She gasped as the gel hissed, sealing the wound. That stings. Welcome to war, Marcus muttered. He grabbed her hand. Up you go. As he pulled her to her feet, Luma's gaze snapped to the sky. Her breath hitched. Marcus followed her stare, and his blood turned to ice. A massive, obsidian warship loomed overhead, its underbelly scarred from battle. The insignia on its hull, a coiled serpentine glyph, glowed faintly in the dark. Marcus knew that symbol. Every soldier did. It was the dread matriarch, the personal warship of the Zenther Queen, and Luma was staring at it like she'd just seen a ghost. Marcus's grip tightened on her wrist. Please don't tell me you're important. Luma swallowed hard. That was all the answer he needed. Chapter 2. The morning sun cast a golden glow over the bustling streets of Eldermere, with a scent of freshly baked bread mingled with the salty breeze from the harbor. Elias tightened the straps of his pack, his boots crunching on the cobblestones as he navigated the crowd. "Move it, will ya?" A burly merchant grumbled, nearly shoving him aside. Elias shot him a sharp glance, but held his tongue. Now wasn't the time for a fight. "Oi, Elias! Over here!" Kira's voice cut through the noise, her wild curls bouncing as she waved from the steps of the Black Boar Inn. She grinned, tossing an apple his way. "You look like you've been wrestling a bear. Rough night." He caught the fruit with a sigh, taking a loud bite. "You could say that. Had another dream about the ruins." Kira's playful smirk faded. "The ones near the Whispering Woods? You're not still thinking of going there, are you?" Before he could answer, a deep chuckle rumbled behind them. "Of course he is. Stubborn as a mule, this one." Roran leaned against the inn's doorway, his massive arms crossed. "But you're not fool enough to go alone, right?" Elias rolled his eyes. "Since when do I need a babysitter?" "Since always," Kira quipped, nudging him with her elbow. "Besides, you'd get lost without me." Roran snorted. "And eaten. Those woods aren't just full of whispers, you know. The last fool who wandered in found nothing but his boots, and they were chewed." Elias tossed the apple core aside, wiping his hands on his tunic. "Then it's a good thing I've got you two to scare off the monsters, huh?" Kira groaned. "Flattery won't save you when something with too many teeth comes knocking." "True," Roran agreed, hefting his axe onto his shoulder. "But my axe might." The trio shared a laugh, the tension easing until a shadow fell over them. A cloaked figure stood at the alley's mouth, their voice a raspy whisper. "Elias Vane, the ruins call to you, don't they?" Elias stiffened. "Who's asking?" The stranger stepped closer, the hood hiding all but a sly smile. "Someone who knows what lies beneath those stones, and what it'll cost you to find it." Kira's hand drifted to her dagger. "Spit it out, then. We don't have all day." The figure chuckled, tossing a small, rune-carved stone to Elias. "Meet me at the old mill at dusk. Come alone, if you dare." As the stranger melted into the crowd, Roran growled. That reeked of trouble. Elias turned the stone in his palm, his pulse quickening. "Yeah, but it's the first real lead we've had." "Kiasite, you're going, aren't you?" He pocketed the stone with a grim smile. "Wouldn't be much of a story if I didn't." Roran clapped him on the back hard enough to make him stumble. "Then we're coming too. Someone's got to keep you from getting cursed, or worse bored." Elias shoved him off, but his grin gave him away. The ruins waited, and with them, answered, or a bloody end. Either way, the game was on. Chapter 3. The old mill stood at the edge of Eldermere, its creaking timbers groaning like a tired old man in the wind. The sun dipped low, painting the sky in shades of burnt orange and deep purple. Elias adjusted the strap of his pack, his fingers brushing against the rune-carved stone in his pocket. "You sure about this?" Kira muttered, eyeing the sagging structure. "Place looks like a stiff breeze could knock it over." Roran cracked his knuckles. "If it does, I'll hold it up. You two just try not to scream when the rats start crawling out." Elias shot him a dry look. "Comforting, really." Before Roran could retort, a flicker of movement caught their eyes. The cloaked figure from earlier emerged from the shadows, their voice dripping with amusement. "Punctual. I appreciate that in a doomed man." Kira's dagger was out in a flash. "Try dooming us and see how fast that cloak becomes a burial shroud." The figure chuckled, lowering its hood to reveal a sharp-featured woman with silver-streaked hair and eyes like polished steel. "Feisty. I like her." Elias stepped forward. "You said you had answers. Start talking." The woman smirked. "Straight to business. Refreshing." She tossed a rolled-up parchment at his feet. "The ruins you're so eager to explore? They're not just ruins. They're a prison." Roran frowned. "For what? Something that shouldn't be let out," she said, her smirk fading. "But someone's trying. And if they succeed, Eldermere burns first. Then the rest of the world. Kiraskoft. And you're just handing us this out of the goodness of your heart." The woman's grin returned wicked. "Oh, I never said I was good. But even monsters have enemies." She turned to leave. Elias snatched the parchment, unfurling it to reveal a map marked with strange symbols. Wait, who are you? She paused, glancing over her shoulder. Call me Celine, and if you survive the ruins, well, maybe I'll tell you more. With that, she vanished into the gathering dark, leaving the trio in stunned silence. Roran exhaled sharply. Well, that was ominous. Kira nudged Elias with her elbow. Still think this is a good idea? Elias studied the map, his jaw set. No, but it's the only one we've got. Roran clapped him on the shoulder. Then let's go ruin some ruins. Kira bueno. That was terrible. Elias smirked. Worse than the rats. She shoved him forward. Move before I leave you both for the crows. Laughing, they set off toward the whispering woods, the weight of Celine's warning hanging over them like a storm cloud. Whatever waited in those ruins, one thing was certain. Nothing would ever be the same again. Chapter 4. The med bay pulsed with an eerie golden glow, its walls breathing like living tissue. Marcus leaned against the doorway, watching as a small drone hovered over Lysara's forehead, sealing her wound with beams of light. The girl giggled, kicking her feet against the examination table. That tickles. Marcus smirked. You heal fast. The queen appeared beside him without warning, her presence like a sudden drop in temperature. Zenther children are resilient, unlike your fragile species. Yeah, well, humans bounce back too. Just takes us longer. He nodded toward Lysara. She called you mother back there. But you're not, are you? The queen went unnaturally still. The only movement was the slow flex of her claws. You presume much, human. Call it soldier's intuition. Marcus crossed his arms. That kid looks at you like you hung the stars, but you tense up every time she touches you. A low, dangerous growl vibrated in the queen's throat. For a moment, Marcus thought she might actually strike him. Then, her genetic donor perished in your people's orbital strike on Zentha's Prime. The words came out clipped, mechanical. I am custodian by law. Nothing more. Marcus blinked. Wait, you're her aunt. The queen's claws unsheathed fully now, glinting in the mid-bay's light. Do not humanize this. I tolerate the child because her progenitor was my clutch sister. That is all. Across the room, Lysara's laughter died. She'd heard every word. Marcus saw the exact moment the queen realized it too. The subtle stiffening of her shoulders, the barely perceptible tremor in her hands. A chime sounded from the corridor. The queen whirled toward the sound. We arrive at the nest in 6 cycles. You will remain here until then. She strode toward the door, her cape billowing behind her. Lysara slid off the table and patted over to Marcus. Her small hand slipped into his. She doesn't mean it, the girl whispered. Marcus knelt at her level. Mean what? That she doesn't care. Lysara touched the glowing crystal around her neck. Mother gets scared. Scared of what? The same thing you are. Lysara's violet eyes held a wisdom far beyond her years. Being alone. The queen's voice cracked like a whip from the doorway. Lysara, to your quarters. Now. The girl flinched, but didn't let go of Marcus's hand. Can he come too? Absolutely not. Why not? He's nice. The queen's eyes flashed dangerously. He is human. He is temporary. Marcus stood slowly, keeping himself between Lysara and the queen. Look, I get it. You don't trust me. But right now, I'm the only one here who's actually talking to her like a person. The queen's nostrils flared. And what would a human know of Zenther personhood? I know that kid needs someone. And right now, you're too busy being terrifying to be that someone. A charged silence filled the room. The queen's claws twitched. Lysara held her breath. Then, without another word, the queen turned and disappeared down the corridor. Lysara exhaled shakily. She's really mad. Yeah, well, Marcus ruffled her hair. I've made scarier things mad before. Like what? Ever seen a drill sergeant before coffee? Marcus grinned as Lysara giggled again. Come on, kid. Let's find these quarters before her scary majesty changes her mind. As they walked down the pulsating hallway, Marcus couldn't shake the feeling that the queen's anger wasn't just about him. There was something deeper there, something raw. And that crystal around Lysara's neck, it pulsed in time with his heartbeat, like it was alive. like it was watching. Chapter 5. The shuttle shuddered as it pierced the nest's outer membrane, the organic docking veil stretching like rubber before snapping tight around their hull. Marcus gripped his seat as the entire craft was swallowed whole, the walls making wet, squelching sounds that turned his stomach. Home! Lysara pressed both hands against the viewport, her breath fogging the glass. Marcus swallowed hard. That's not what I expected. Before they stretched a living city. Towering spires of bone-like material pulsed with veins of blue light, while bridges of cartilage connected floating biodomes. The air shimmered with golden particles, drifting like fireflies between structures that breathed and shifted as they watched. The Queen stood rigid at the helm, her claws tapping an impatient rhythm against the control console. You will remain in the guest quarters. My people are not accustomed to human visitors. Marcus snorted. You mean they'd rip me apart on sight? Obviously, the shuttle docked with a sickening slurp, the gangway extending like a tongue from the ship's maw. The air that rushed and smelled of ozone and something earthy, almost pleasant, until a scarred Zenther warrior came barreling toward them, his armor cracked and leaking green ichor. Queen Vera. The warrior skidded to a stop, mandibles clicking in distress. The dissenters, they've seized the core. They say you've gone soft protecting the half-breed. Lysara shrank behind Marcus's legs, Vera's claws unsheathed with a metallic shine. How many? 3 broods, maybe 4. There. The warrior's compound eyes locked onto Marcus. What is that filth doing here? Vera moved faster than Marcus could blink. One moment, the warrior was standing, and the next, he was crashing into the far wall from the force of her backhand. He is mine, as is the child. Now move. As the warriors scrambled to obey, Marcus grabbed Vera's arm. Let me help. She recoiled as if burned. You? Yeah, me. He jerked his chin toward her twitching claws. You're shaking. You need backup. I need no humans, mommy, please. Lysara darted between them, tears glistening in her violet eyes. They'll hurt you. Take Marcus. He makes the scary thoughts quiet. Vera went deathly still. What do you mean? Lysara touched her crystal pendant. He shines differently, like the old stories. The Queen's gaze locked onto Marcus with terrifying intensity. For a heartbeat, he thought she might strike him down. Then, stay behind me. And if you slow me down, I will leave you to die. Marcus grinned, checking the charge on his stolen plasma pistol. Wouldn't have it any other way, Your Majesty. The corridors twisted like intestines as they ran, the walls slick with moisture that smelled faintly of copper. Lysara kept pace between them, her small hand gripping Marcus's belt. You ever been in a fight, kid? Marcus asked between breaths. Lysara nodded solemnly. Once. I made a warrior sleep when he tried to take my crystal. Marcus nearly tripped. You what now? Vera hissed over her shoulder. Quiet. We approached A blood-curdling shriek echoed from ahead. The Queen's claws flexed. Core chamber. Stay close. As they rounded the final bend, the sight that greeted them turned Marcus's blood to ice. Dozens of crimson-marked Zenther surrounded the pulsing heart of the nest. A massive, throbbing organ suspended in a web of tendrils, its light flickering erratically. One dissenter turned, hissing through jagged teeth. Traitor Queen, you bring a human to defile our. Vera moved. The dissenter's head hit the ground before his body realized it was dead. Chaos erupted. Marcus shoved Lysara into a crevice. Stay here. Then he dove into the fray, his pistol roaring to life. The plasma bolts went wide. The weapon wasn't calibrated for human hands, but the distraction was enough. A warrior lunged at Vera's exposed back. Marcus tackled it midair. They crashed to the ground in a tangle of limbs, the Zenther's claws scraping against his armor. He barely got an arm up in time to block a strike aimed at his throat. Die meat, the warrior screeched. Marcus headbutted, his helmet cracking against chitin. Not today, bug. A violet flash erupted from the crevice. Every dissenter froze mid-motion, their limbs locking up as if seized by invisible strings. Marcus turned just in time to see Lysara's eyes glowing with the same light as her crystal, and the Queen staring at her in something like terror. Then, the moment broke. The dissenters collapsed like marionettes with cut strings. Silence. Panting, Marcus staggered to his feet. What the hell was that? Vera didn't answer. She was too busy staring at Lysara, who had gone pale and wobbly. Marcus caught her just as her knees gave out. "Whoa there, kiddo. You okay?" Lysara's voice was barely a whisper. "Tired? It's too loud." The queen finally moved, her voice uncharacteristically soft. She used the Nest song. No child should be able to. Her claws twitched toward Lysara, then retracted. "We must go. Now." As Marcus lifted the half-conscious girl, he noticed the Nest walls were pulsing in time with Lysara's shallow breaths. And the queen was watching him with a look he couldn't decipher, somewhere between awe and absolute dread. Chapter 6. The air inside the ancient chamber was thick with dust and the scent of old magic, the walls pulsing with eerie blue runes that cast flickering shadows across the cracked stone floor. Elias wiped the sweat from his brow, his fingers tightening around the hilt of his sword as the ground trembled beneath them. "It's waking up," Kira hissed, her dagger already drawn, eyes darting to the massive obsidian seal in the center of the room. The cracks in it widened with a sound like breaking bones. Roran hefted his axe, grinning despite the danger. "Took it long enough. I was starting to think this was all for nothing." A deafening roar split the air as the seal shattered, and a monstrous shape surged upward, scaled, snarling, and very much alive. Its eyes burned like molten gold, locking them with terrifying intelligence. Elias swallowed hard. Yeah, definitely not nothing. The beast lunged, and chaos erupted. Kira flipped out of the way, her dagger scoring a thin line across its flank as it barreled past. "Oh, lovely. It's even uglier up close." Roran brought his axe down with a thunderous crack, but the creature twisted at the last second, the blade biting into stone instead of flesh. Stubborn lizard. Elias dodged a swipe of its claws, rolling to his feet near the shattered remnants of the seal. His eyes caught on something glinting in the debris, a twisted silver amulet throbbing with dark energy. Celine's warning echoed in his mind. A prison, and someone's trying to break it. "Guys!" he shouted, snatching the amulet. "This thing's controlling it." Kira shot him a wild look as she barely avoided being flattened. "Great. How about you uncontrol it before we're all paced?" The creature reared back, jaws gaping, and Elias didn't think. He moved. With a yell, he slammed the amulet against the ground. It shattered like glass, and the beast froze mid-strike, its roar cutting off into a strangled snarl. For one heartbeat, silence. Then, with a sound like a sigh, the creature's form wavered, its massive body dissolving into swirling shadows before vanishing entirely. Roran blinked. Huh, that was easier than expected. Kira kicked a shard of the broken amulet. Or we just got stupidly lucky. She turned to Elias, brow raised. "You didn't know that would work, right?" Elias pocketed a remaining fragment, forcing a grin. "Absolutely." She groaned. "We're doomed." A low chuckle echoed from the chamber's entrance. Celine leaned against the doorway, arms crossed. "Not bad. For amateurs." Roran scowled. "You could have helped." She pushed off the wall, smirking. "Where's the fun in that?" Her gaze shifted to Elias, smirk fading. "But this isn't over. The amulet was just a leash. Whoever forged it is still out there." Elias met her eyes, the weight of those words settling over him. "Then we find them. Kira sight. Why do I feel like this is going to involve more running for our lives?" Celine's grin returned, sharp as a blade. "Oh, you have no idea." The ruins groaned around them, as if in agreement. Chapter 7. The streets of Eldermere were eerily quiet as the group slipped through the shadows, the fragment of the shattered amulet burning a hole in Elias's pocket. Celine led the way, her movements silent as a ghost, while Kira and Roran exchanged wary glances behind her. "You sure we can trust her?" Kira muttered under her breath, fingers twitching near her dagger. "She's got backstabber written all over her." Roran grunted. "If she wanted us dead, she'd have left us to that beast." Celine paused at the mouth of a narrow alley, her smirk sharp in the moonlight. If you're done gossiping, we're here. She gestured to a crumbling townhouse, its windows dark. The one you're looking for is inside, and he's not expecting company. Elias exhaled sharply. Then let's not keep him waiting. The door creaked open under Celine's touch, revealing a dimly lit room cluttered with arcane relics and half-finished enchantments. At the far end, a hooded figure hunched over a work table, muttering to himself as he traced glowing symbols onto another amulet, identical to the one Elias had destroyed. Kira's nose wrinkled. Ugh, smells like rotten eggs and bad decisions in here. The figure whirled, his hood falling back to reveal a gaunt face twisted in fury. You, he spat, eyes locking onto Elias. You ruined everything. Elias stepped forward, his voice steady. You were controlling that thing, trying to break the prison open. What? The man's laugh was brittle, desperate. Power, boy. The kind your pathetic mind couldn't fathom. He snatched up the amulet, its dark energy flaring to life. But I don't need the beast to deal with you. A pulse of energy shot toward them. Roran barely yanked Kira out of the way as the blast shattered the wall behind them. Celine rolled her eyes, dramatic and sloppy. She flicked her wrist, and a whip-thin blade slid from her sleeve. Shall we? Elias didn't wait. He lunged, his sword clashing against the man's hastily conjured barrier. The force of the impact sent them both staggering, but Elias recovered first, driving his shoulder into the man's ribs. The amulet clattered to the floor. Kira pounced, pinning the man's arm behind his back with a vicious twist. Gotcha! Roran stomped on the amulet, reducing it to glittering dust. And stay broken. The man howled in rage, but Celine silenced him with a sharp tap of her blade against his throat. Ah, no more tantrums. She glanced at Elias. Your call. What now? Elias stared down at their captive, the weight of the moment settling over him. This man had nearly unleashed chaos on the world for what? Greed? Madness? It didn't matter. Lock him up, Elias said at last. Somewhere, he can't hurt anyone else. Kira, I know just the place. As they dragged the man away, Roran clapped Elias on the back. Not bad for a bunch of amateurs, huh? Celine snorted. Don't get cocky. The world's full of monsters, and not all of them are beasts. Elias smiled, tucking the last fragment of the amulet away. Then it's a good thing we've got each other. Kira Coenel. Ugh, save the sentimental stuff for when we're not covered in dirt and bad guys stink. Laughter echoed through the empty streets as they walked into the dawn, the ruins behind them and the road ahead wide open. Whatever came next, they'd face it together. And that was the end of the story. Comment below if you want the next chapter, and hit that like button. Please subscribe, turn on the bell, and as always, keep the last light burning.